Welcome to the show. It is Kevan Kenney. Dr. Tara is here.
Hello.
Producer Muggs is... I wish he doesn't want us to put a camera on him. You can watch this podcast / radio show on KROQ's YouTube, youtube.com/KROQ. But you can't see Muggs in it. And so what's he doing over there? He's like gyrating. Why are you so happy?
Hello.
What are you so happy about?
You can probably see me in Tara's camera, like in the background.
What did you readjust the camera so you're in it?
No, I just pressed record on the camera.
Oh, that's good. It's good. Yes, there you go. Yeah, if you didn't know that, maybe just listen on KROQ on the FM dial in Southern California, or you just listen to the podcast. This is a video show as well, if you can believe that. That is youtube.com/KROQ. So you can put a face to the sexy voice of Dr. Tara, and you can leave a hateful comment about moi. All right, let's get right into it. It's episode 11 of this new incarnation of Loveline, and we are talking about OnlyFans once again. And Dr. Tara, before the show, we said we're probably going to talk about this story. This is a big story in the news this week, and you said, I don't know if we want to talk about OnlyFans that much. We just talked about OnlyFans on the last episode, and that is a good point. You never want to be redundant, but how can you do Loveline? How can you do a sex show, a relationship show, a dating show, and not talk about OnlyFans in 2025? I think it plays such an interesting role. It can provide income for couples. It can provide jealousy and fuel for fighting for couples, and it can provide jealousy and for couples as well. It really is just, it's got to be one of the biggest platforms on the internet, right?
I mean, when it comes to sex, yeah.
But I think in general, I mean, Muggs, can you look up some user information?
There's no way it's bigger than Facebook.
Well, no. And I mean, Facebook probably beats it by, Muggs was telling us before the show that OnlyFans got founded in 2016. So, I mean.
That's such a young company.
Oh, it's very young, but I mean, it's
9 years. It blew up.
Look, give me some user numbers, Muggs, in terms of, it's not going to beat Facebook. Facebook's been around since 2004. But I'm curious, where does OnlyFans rank in terms of, the biggest sites? It's got to be up there.
Well, it says number of users as of November 2023. OnlyFans had over 305 million registered users.
Wow.
27.73 increase from 2022. The revenue in 2023, OnlyFans had a record-breaking year, earning over $1.3 billion in revenue and $658 million in profit before tax.
Wow. I have a question. So out of 300 million, does it say how many of those are creators versus users?
It's way more users.
Well, obviously. I just want to know how many creators are on OnlyFans.
How many creators?
There's so many. I mean, living in LA, there's... I mean, everywhere you go, there's a content creator, an OnlyFans creator in that room.
How brutal must it be to start an OnlyFans and then it just nobody subscribes?
Right. I mean, it must take a hit on someone's self-esteem for sure.
The average OnlyFans content creator account has 21 subscribers.
Yeah, but that's the average.
Yeah.
That's stream. You know how many? Pull up these stats, Muggs, on Spotify. You know, half the music, look this up, Muggs, half the music on, half the songs on Spotify have never even been streamed once.
No.
You can believe that?
Don't say that. It's so sad.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't like sad things.
That's crazy. So if the average profile has 21 followers or subscribers, and then you have, friends of the show by way of Dr. Tara Kazumi, who probably has millions of subscribers or up there, whatever, that's not good if you're averaging out to 21. There's a lot of accounts there. But yeah, that's probably do you know anybody? You don't have to name names. Do you know anybody that has started an OnlyFans?
Yeah.
No. And then had to get rid of it because nobody subscribed.
Yeah.
Where do you market? If you want to launch an OnlyFans, maybe we can do a tutorial right now. If you want to launch an OnlyFans, but you don't want anyone to find out about it, where do you market it?
Social media.
But you can't post anything explicit.
No, you don't. But I know many creators that will post, sexy photos. You can be in lingerie. Lots of people post photos of themselves in lingerie or in bikinis, right? At the beach.
Yeah.
But then it will be spicy links here.
There are two things that really stand out to me as we don't have flying cars, as people like to point out. But if I had to point out two things or share two things with my 12-year-old self about the future that would blow our minds from 20 years ago, It would be the fact that we get into strangers' cars to go
Yeah.
places. That's crazy.
That
That's
is
totally
crazy.
crazy. Uber and Lyft it's so crazy that if you told your 2005 self, you're like, yeah. So like if you wanted to go to the mall, just call, and a guy that you don't know is going to show up and you're just going to get into that guy's car and he's going to take you to the mall. That's crazy. And then the second thing is that odds are, if you go to your Explore page right now on Instagram and there's an attractive woman in a bikini, odds are you can, for about $5 to $10, see her naked in a minute.
Ooh, I mean,
Isn't that crazy? Wouldn't that blow your mind 20 years ago?
back in the days, we still had like the 90s and 2000s version of OnlyFans. Cam girls.
Okay, but that's not really 90s, 2000s. I mean, that's probably like 2010s. Or when did cam girls come out?
I would say early 2000s.
That was like, I feel like that's super inside baseball, though. I definitely knew about cam girls, but also,
I think people usually get like siphoned from like Pornhub. Like, you know, you will go to a website to watch porn and then they see an ad like, oh, see a person live. And then they'll like click on it, aka me.
does anyone actually like, you know, those what's the I don't know if we should promote this company or not.
No, don't.
Yeah, but no. There's like pre-roll on those websites, and they're always like, hey, go to this
Like
website.
cannabis?
No,
Were we talking about the
pre-roll
same thing?
ads. Dr. Tara has 3 million followers on social media, and I'm teaching her what a pre-roll ad is. Pre-rolls. All right, no, I'm talking.
Pre-rolls like
I
cannabis.
thought you were talking about joints.
Yeah,
too.
of course.
Thank you, Mux.
I could be admiring someone's lawn, and he would think I was talking about joints over there. Anyways, I'm just curious if anybody clicks on those pre-roll ads. You know what I'm talking about, Muggs? Can you help me out here?
Yeah.
In
I
porn
click on 'em.
videos?
Yeah.
Yes, there are ads that run before porn
I
videos.
have clicked.
Okay, you have.
Yeah.
So now Dr. Tara not only knows what I'm talking about, she has partooken in what I'm talking about. We've come very far very quickly.
I'm
All
a very
right.
curious person. I saw this ad and like this girl was like, oh my God. And then this guy, his penis went from like 3 inches to like 30.
Right.
I
That
was
sounds like
like-
it would get your attention.
Yeah, I was like, what is going on? So I just clicked on it.
So do you consider yourself a size queen? We talk about them on the show,
I'm
and
not.
you don't. But you are really into penis. So
I
is
am.
it just like you're not into like humongous
But
penis?
I'm also into vulvas. Like I really like vulvas.
Volvo's the car. They do drive well.
Vulvas and vaginas.
Oh.
Yes.
Aren't they one and the same?
No.
You can't have like Simon without Garfunkel.
You usually have both, yes, but the correct term is vulva.
Wait, hold on. I thought the vulva was
Is
a part.
the whole thing.
No, a vulva is a part of the vagina, right?
No.
Well, what's a
no.
vulva?
The vulva is
Wait,
the
hold
whole
on. Muggs,
thing.
define a vulva. No, don't look it up. Don't look it up. I want the Muggs definition of vulva. Oh, he's cheating. Are you cheating?
You look at my screen.
Okay.
There's nothing on my screen. A vulva is
For $1,000.
It is the
Wait, answer like Jeopardy. Say what is.
What is the entrance point of the vagina?
No.
Damn it.
Okay.
No. The vagina is the entrance point. The whole thing is the vulva, including the labia minora, labia majora,
Wow.
the clitoris.
So
Yeah.
if you ever meet some labia and they claim to be the vagina, say no.
That's the vulva.
You're right. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of people here say they live in West Hollywood, but they live in Hollywood. You know?
Oh, that's such shade.
Yeah, no,
Like,
but
what's,
I'm just-
what's wrong with living in Hollywood?
No, nothing. I'm
But
saying
why would
people
people
here
lie
posture.
and say they live in West Hollywood?
Because Hollywood is kind of a dump. Have you not driven through Hollywood?
I have. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice.
Anyways,
It's
no,
a tale of two cities here.
there are nice areas of Hollywood, by the way. I don't think I don't
okay,
even think
I
you
gotta
can't even
shout
get
out.
KROQ in Hollywood, by the way.
No
What? Yeah, you
way.
can.
Yes, you can.
Not really. Not in
Yeah.
West Hollywood.
What?
You ever try to listen to KROQ on like Sunset Boulevard? It's
Yeah?
impossible.
What are you talking about? Get a new radio.
Yeah,
No.
you get a new radio. But I want to shout out Hollywood. If you ever go to Hollywood, you
It's hard
should
to
go.
like me to get a new radio, or you?
No,
us?
you should go to Thai Town.
Okay, what?
Have you been?
What is this? What are you plugging?
Thai Town.
Thai Town? Is that
Like,
is that an area?
It's like Chinatown.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all
but
right.
like Thai Town. Go get Thai food there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to shout anybody out?
No, just saying that you
Oh,
should
just
go
a
get
geographic
authentic
location.
Thai food in Hollywood.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Now, somebody who can probably dine wherever the hell she wants is Sophie Rain, which is an amazing porn name. I get very excited for great porn names and great wrestler names, right?
You're
You
so
remember-
simple.
No, it's great. It's such it's a specific genre. I know Muggs agrees with me, right? Like great wrestling names, like Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I
a great
like that.
wrestling name.
Or the Bushwhackers.
And
The Bushwhackers.
porn name. Like that could be both.
yes,
Right.
absolutely. I
What,
love
the Bushwhackers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bushwhackers. Sophie Rain is an amazing porn name, and basically, she has made $50 million on OnlyFans. $50 million. How much is do NBA players make $50 million?
Not all of them.
Not all of them, right? And then here's the craziest part. You'd imagine that for $50 million, this girl's got to be doing like crazy stuff on OnlyFans. She's a virgin. So she's not having sex. This isn't, full-on pornography, or at least not like, whatever the proper term is for penetrative pornography. So she's not doing any of that. She's 20 years old. And she first joined OnlyFans in July of 2023. Now, this is incredible. It actually goes on to say she's invested this $50 million into real estate, cars, and supporting her family, which sounds kind of noble. It says the influencer's astronomical income is even more impressive given that she's a virgin who shies away from X-rated content. She says, quote, I post some explicit stuff, but not as explicit as people may think. I am still a virgin and don't fit the regular porn star category. I see myself more of the girl next door who happens to have an OnlyFans, but one that has so much more to offer than just my own body. Now, Dr. Tara, I'm going to go to you because you seem to be, you tend to be open-minded, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't believe people lose their virginity. You believe they make their sexual
Sexual
debut.
debut.
Absolutely, right? And so, or as Dr. Tara likes to say on the show, I think this is increasingly becoming a catchphrase, not all women. So explain to me, Dr. Tara, how could somebody that's on OnlyFans offer, quote, so much more than just their body? What would they offer?
What would they offer?
Yeah.
Like on OnlyFans?
Yeah, like what does she mean by that?
Oh, I think she means like helping people like explore their fantasies. I think she means like helping others through loneliness. Like, she offers companionship, perhaps even intellectual conversations.
So it says here that Adam22, who's a popular podcaster turned, I guess, porn star, right?
Yeah.
That guy's now doing podcasts and then having sex on those podcasts. He's accusing her of fabricating the figures for clout.
Like the numbers?
Yeah, because, you can look this up yourself. It looks like Sophie Rain has a Twitter account or an X account, and it's Rain with 2 eyes at the end, if you're a curious gentleman. And she has her bank statement here. It does seem a little weird to post this, doesn't it? Like, why post this? Of course, it is interesting. I don't know where I fall, if this is like cringe or not in terms of like all this clout chasing you see nowadays. It's also their business. If this is your business and you need attention, and you're sort of operating that attention economy, I do get that is your business, and it's not one I would ever want to get into necessarily to that extent. But maybe she just, this might be earning her awareness. We're clearly talking about her on a Loveline episode.
And also, like, as a regular OnlyFans girl, you would never be on, like, People magazine. Like, and now, she posted that kind of like a marketing strategy or PR strategy. And now she's on, like, headlines of these news, outlets.
Well, and to be fair, it's actually interesting. I was about to make an analogy, and it sort of presents itself naturally. It says she's also invested a chunk of her cash in a Miami mansion called the Bop House. It's amazing how culture changes so quickly these days. Like just a few years ago, bop meant like a catchy pop song. Ooh, that's a bop.
Yeah.
Like,
What's a Bop House?
Well, a bop now apparently is a term for the uninitiated. A bop is a derogatory slang term for a sexually promiscuous woman who bops around between different men. Isn't this great that as time evolves and culture grows and sort of morphs into the new generation, we just find new terms to basically be awful to women?
I know. It's just, it never ends.
Isn't it funny?
It can be a next generation and the next generation and the next generation, and there's always a term to look down on women.
Well, it's like we just canceled everybody that ever called a woman a slut on a hot microphone, right?
Bop.
And now that we've gotten all rid of the boomers who, slut shamed, now we can bop shame.
Bop shame.
Yes.
I've never heard of bop. So it's saying she invested money
into the Bop House. So the Bop
What does
House.
that mean?
So that's a content hub which houses Sophie Rain, and 7 other OnlyFans models, and it's been called Gen Z's answer to the Playboy Mansion. Now, Beer Mug here has actually been to the Playboy Mansion.
I have.
Are you paying attention to the show,
I am
Mugs?
paying attention. I was waiting to see where you went with
That
this.
was a pregnant pause.
Beer Mug has been to the Playboy Mansion. Finish the sentence.
Okay, now, Beer Mug, do you want to tell your Playboy Mansion story or no?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
Tell
he-
us.
No, you know. Do you want to tell the
that
story or
one?
no? Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's really funny.
Okay.
Can you tell it? But
Yeah.
also, but don't. I don't want you to edit this out later.
No. Okay.
Do you want to think about if you're going to tell it or not?
Yeah, let me think about it.
Okay, he's got a great story from Playboy
Wow.
Mansion that is really,
I'm so curious.
really
You have
funny.
to. You have to tell it now.
Well, no. But
How
it's-
much is it worth to you, Tara?
Yeah, I know, right?
5 gold chocolates.
Then you can see it on my OnlyFans account.
So it says, according to Sophie, her OnlyFans income doubled in December after she launched the Bop House and has continued to grow in the 2 months since. Now, what's interesting to me, right, is that, again, people are going to go, this is disgusting. And then what's awful is women who are jealous of this girl is going to say that.
Yeah.
And then these men who don't like sexually liberated women are also going to say, you know, that's terrible what she's doing. Her family's retired because of all this money. It doesn't sound like she's doing X-rated content. Oh, wait, Muggs, that's a work computer, right? Can you look up on your phone?
Yeah.
Like, Google image Sophie Rain.
Okay.
See if you can find if there's any, like, explicit content on her, or if it's really just, like, you know, kind of sexy
Like
lingerie.
lingerie.
Yeah. Because that's remarkable.
I think it's totally possible. Actually, it's a much better strategy than showing everything, and you know why? It's playing with the men's imagination. It's like teasing. It's playing with their imagination and their anticipation of, like, they could, quote unquote, potentially be with her. They could potentially be the person that deflowers her. Like, it's playing with imagination and just pure, like, male desires. I think it's a much smarter strategy, actually, to not have sex and just, like, to show a little bit here and there and maybe play with other girls in her Bop House. Like, you know, I feel like it makes total sense that she's actually crushing it. Because if guys want to, like, watch whole full frontal and, like, full sex with another, like, with a partner, they would just watch porn. Why would they pay, like, $15 a month, right? This is exciting. And she's, like, offering herself as in, like, you could potentially be with me. And I think people, well, not people, men love that.
According to my research, it looks like, yeah, there's just...
You see any nudes?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do.
So she's widely, I mean, even through Google, you can find a Sophie Rain nude.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
looks like all, like, the X-rated stuff is, like, AI or whatever.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there are lots of nudes, but not having penetrative sex.
Are they, like, tasteful nudes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, no, I'm just wondering, you know, because Playboy was really tasteful back in the day. Penthouse was, like, way crazier.
I
Penthouse
know.
had pictures of sex.
Yeah, and also, like, women, like, spreading their legs and
Right?
like, it's really intense.
They were
They're top ones.
They were
Just
separate.
The lab, yeah,
Okay, guys,
exactly.
hello, we're
Good
on the...
job.
We can't say all that.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Yeah, you
Why
can.
can't I say
It's a-
labia?
It's a medical term.
Yeah, but it's... okay. Okay.
Labia.
It's a
You can't say. That's
Do
it.
you
That's
have
it.
to? Do you have to? Do you have to say labia? Whatever.
Anyways,
Thanks, Bugs.
moving on.
He's fired.
I'm fired.
You're supposed to laugh. There you go. Well, anyways, it looks like aside from Sophie, the other residents include Alina Rose, 24 years old, Camila, something or other, 22, 19. Yeah, I will say this. Sophie Rain makes me a little uncomfy. She looks real young. And I know
Yeah.
she's of age, of course, but there's something about guys that are into girls that look real young.
Yeah.
Like, I got a buddy that's, like, always dating young-looking girls. You know, they're all of age. I'm just, like, I'm happy that I kind of, you know, went the other way, where I had, like, the MILF
Older
thing.
women.
Yeah. You know, where I was like,
At least it's safe.
yeah, I don't know. There's something that really makes me uncomfy about like young looking.
I know,
That's
me
even
too.
sort of like you know what I mean? Where you're just like, man, you look like you were. And maybe it's because like, you know, I hosted a couple shows over there at MTV that were like kind of a lot of teenagers in the audience.
Yeah.
And I might just have this association with like fans and kids and like, you know what I mean? And I just don't want to like.
I'm so curious. Has like a teenager, well, let's just be safe and say like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old ever like try to DM you
Oh yeah.
and like try to talk to you?
Well, I don't think
or,
anybody
like, see
underage. Certainly nobody underage. But yeah, I remember there was like there was an episode of the show where the Jonas Brothers came on, and like I had to have gotten like over 10, 15, maybe like. It was going back 6-7 years now, but like it was pretty crazy, and it was, but I never internalized it because it was just like, well, you don't like me, you think that I'm going to.
Do you respond?
I responded. It wasn't like, you know, I wouldn't like if there was a range of DMs. If they were kind of like respectful about it, then I'd be like, okay, like, yeah, let's talk for a little while. But it wouldn't really go anywhere because they'd be like, hey, I'm a freshman at this college. And I'd be like, this is weird, dude. I'm 27 years old or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? No, I always just like, there was work and then there was like my personal life. And I think when you're like, you know, because when they're sort of reduced, even if they are 19, 20 years old, in that state with their favorite artist right there in a studio setting on live television, like they're reduced to like this childlike behavior of like hysterics and stuff like that. And so if you're just around that every single day, and that's what your idea of an 18, 19, 20-year-old woman is, you're going to probably have an aversion to like the idea of them sexually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely have that aversion. I mean, I teach college students, so you
yeah,
know,
you see them like that.
Yeah, I see them as like children. Like
one time I was seeing like a 22-year-old, and I was probably 30, maybe 31, and it was, you know, it was awesome. Like the intimacy was awesome.
Yeah.
But boy, did we run out of anything to talk about. I don't understand how people do it. You know, where it's like,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio? How dare you? How dare you, Tara?
Don't. Catch Me If You Can is my favorite movie.
I thought you were going to say Cash Me Outside. I was like, oh, that's not a movie.
Hey, guys, I found some more
find?
research that contradicts my last research.
Oh, that's great.
I think all those nudes that I saw of Sophie Rain were all AI because there's nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, there's not. All the ones that you Google search are just her in like just bikini or like bathing suits and like these like flesh-colored one pieces and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting is like the same way like a musician has to protect themselves from leaks or has to protect themselves from like, you know, fraud or people, you know, distributing their music illegally. I got to imagine, I don't know if you've ever talked to your friend Kazumi about this on OnlyFans, but like if you're making $50 million, I just have to go out on a limb and assume that you have this like under wraps. Because I even think, there's no way of checking this, but I bet you it would cost someone. If you could just go to Google Image and find naked pictures of Sophie Rain, I bet you that would cost her $5 million. Yeah, thinking about it?
Who wants to be a millionaire?
I'm thinking about it. That's my final answer, Muggs.
Final answer?
I think it would cost her $5 million.
All right, $5 million.
Get out of here. There you go. Rest in peace, Regis. I'm sure you're very thrilled up there in heaven as Muggs honors you in that way.
With the vocal fry.
No, with the vocal fry. Which, by the way, you didn't get in a cool way. He went to Disney.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, he told me, and he hasn't told you.
No.
And I can tell he's posturing for you. He wants you to think like he's this rock star that's going out on the Sunset Strip and stuff, and you know, with rock bands. And it's really because he went to Disney.
Yeah, they're selling vocal fry in the gift shop.
He had one day off this week, right?
Yeah.
He goes to Disney.
I would go to Disney
took my
on
kid,
my day
dude.
off.
What do you want?
All right, we do have to take a break. We have a loaded show coming up. We're going to hear from Jason Vest, of course, of foot fame. The man
More
loves
feet stuff.
Well, and you know what? You haven't really talked to Jason Vest, Dr. Tara, since he
No.
put you at number 2 on his best feet list of
I'm
2024.
honored.
So he has some news from the world of feet. So if you're a foot guy, that's coming up next. We'll get to your fan questions, the listener questions for Dr. Tara to answer. Hopefully less music from Muggs. Plus, we will also be joined by a real-life dominatrix. All of that straight ahead, Muggs, on Loveline. Kevan Kenney, Dr. Tara, producer Muggs. We're about to be joined by the one and only Jason Vest, who, if you're new to Loveline, he's kind of our foot guy. I don't know how to describe him any other way. He's like our foot expert, our foot appreciator. He knows all things feet.
I would say foot connoisseur.
Yes, that's fantastic. And you know what? I'm so happy that you said that and found the correct term there, Tara, because he's a big fan of your feet.
Oh,
if you remember, Jason Vest stopped by late last year and gave us the top feet of 2024. I believe one of the actresses, Muggs, what was her name? Tia and Tamara?
Yeah, it was Tia Mowry.
Tia Mowry. She
not
was
Tamara, Tia.
Well, I think Tia was number one, right, on Jason's list?
And according to Jason, Tamara's not as liberal with her feet.
Yes. See, Muggs remembers this. And then Dr. Tara was number 2. And I mean, I've worked with you now for 11 episodes, Dr. Tara. I've never even seen your feet. I'm a gentleman. I've never even looked. But Jason, of course, is such an appreciator of them toes that he knows toes. And he's going to come back. And he's actually he's on the show again. He's been up to a lot. Please welcome back Jason Vest.
Hi.
What's up, Kevin, Dr. Tara? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, man. Now, we last talked to you about 2 months ago in December on Loveline, and it's been a couple crazy months for you. You've been up to a whole heck of a lot. The popular show, Beer Mug, you love this show, Kill Tony.
Yeah, dude. It's awesome. Sometimes, though, Tony can get a little harsh on the comedians and or the guests in the crowd. But other than that, it's a great
He can definitely be harsh, and it is a little uncomfortable to watch when he's harsh. And it plays into Jason's sort of hero arc with this show. If you're unfamiliar with Kill Tony and you're listening to Loveline, and Dr. Tara, you're probably a little unfamiliar with Kill Tony, right?
I've seen it.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
Okay, this is great. Basically what it is, for anyone who's unfamiliar, is it's a bunch of aspiring comedians in Austin, Texas, and there's like this theater, and then there's almost like a judge's table of, maybe more accomplished or further up ahead comedians like Tony Hinchcliffe, etc. Brian Redband's always up there. And so you're afforded about a minute of stand-up, and then you're judged, basically. There's a little post-interview portion. So Jason Vest, our foot expert, he goes on this show maybe a year ago, around that about time, 12 months or so, and it doesn't go as well as he had hoped. And so, and talking about Muggs' point of sometimes the host, Tony, can be a little harsh. He was a little harsh on Jason, and, it was a tough thing for Jason to go through. Now, Jason, being the great guy that he is, in addition to an appreciator of feet, he just kept at it. He kept working. He honed his craft. And it really was like out of a movie. He goes on the second time, and he not only does a great job, he absolutely murders. And I don't know if that term gets thrown around. A lot of terms get thrown around these days, like GOAT. Oh, he's the GOAT. Or, oh, man, you're a legend. Murder might get thrown around a little bit when it comes to comedy, especially stand-up comedy. He truly murdered to the point where Jason Vest, and if you know Kill Tony, you'll appreciate this even more. It was after his time on stage, and the next guy referenced him, and then there was another reference to him, and you rarely see that on Kill Tony, where somebody makes such an impact, where like the whole show almost has to be about him now. But he did a great job, and we're very happy to have him back. So, Jason, how was that whole experience on Kill Tony?
It was wild, man. I talked about toes on Kill Tony, and I got Gabriel Iglesias' sock. He made me rate his feet.
That's his sock? Are you holding up his sock right now for those watching on YouTube?
I put it in my mouth.
You put that and you put it in again. Now,
I put it in my mouth.
Let me ask you, and just to be clear, if the FCC is concerned, that's a sock he just put in his mouth is what he's talking about, and there's nothing inside of that sock. Now, have you washed that sock? Just be honest. It's a safe space.
Oh, no, I'm not washing it.
So that sock that you just put in that's great. Now, your lovely wife, Melissa, does she appreciate that you then probably kiss her later after doing what you just did?
She loves celebrities and she loves Fluffy. She didn't even care.
Wow. All right.
I handed her the sock right away, and she probably would have put it in her mouth too. We were just so excited that Gabriel Iglesias thought I was funny.
Hey, that makes me think. Now, you've been a part of a lot of group sex, haven't you, Dr. Tara?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the like etiquette if like are you allowed to kiss people during group sex?
Not always.
Not always. But let's say you are allowed to kiss. Is that something you have any experience with?
Yeah.
So what's the etiquette of like if you kissed the guy or the girl, and then are you then like does your husband not like to then get kissed?
No.
It's a little different than
and
Gabriel
my husband
Iglesias'
and I
sock.
don't do that. We don't kiss.
They don't.
No, we
Wait,
don't.
you and your husband don't kiss at all?
No, I mean with other people.
Other
Hey,
people.
watch the sounds,
With
dude.
other people. We're
That sounded disgusting, dude.
That was Tara's magic.
Don't
reclaim
plug.
your
Don't,
brain.
yeah, don't plug it. We want to get paid.
but no, like usually if you like just in simple terms, if you swing,
Yes.
a lot of people don't kiss.
Right.
Yeah, like I kiss my husband, but like you don't kiss other people.
Right.
It's
Oh,
very
you're
it's a much
saying-
more common etiquette than kissing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that interesting that sex is less intimate than kissing?
Yeah, because sex is recreational, kissing is relational.
Yeah, but you know what's even more intimate
That is
than
crazy.
You know what is like? Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
It's like the act of penetration is less intimate than kissing.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. This is obviously worst case scenario, and I hope this never happens to anybody. But if your significant other cheated on you, would you rather they slept with someone or they gave oral to somebody?
Oral.
You'd rather them have given oral?
No, not have given.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Jason, have you ever been cheated on, Jason?
Oh yeah. I've done both.
I'm not hearing Jason.
I know. Did you turn him off?
No.
Oh, your settings in your computer then. Your setting.
Not hear me?
It lost the board connection or whatever. Because now we're hearing him through your computer.
Hello.
There. you're
Yeah,
back.
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Live radio. Now, Jason, have you ever been cheated on? I'm sorry, I didn't get your answer.
I've been on both sides. I've been the cheater and I've been cheated on.
Yeah, and you were also in the military, right? So there's like tons of cheating happening in the military.
Oh yeah, man. That's how work trips, man.
Mm.
1 second here, Jason. All right, Jason. So just some technical difficulties here in the KROQ studio. Is that real though? That like sort of joke that army like soldiers' wives are sleeping behind their back home, sleeping around
That's not
behind
a
their back.
joke. I mean, that's what happens, man.
Really?
Anytime you're in like a stressful environment like that, where there's tons of travel and you're away from your partner, a lot of like partnerships in the military, like it's just accepted. So it's not always necessarily like this big taboo thing. I mean, it's just the culture and sometimes having to travel and stuff like that.
So, can you deduce that to like military people are in open relationships?
Yes, I think there's more of that going on than the cheating. Because I mean, I know a lot of people that, like when we were deployed, they were like, "Hey, someone's keeping my wife warm for me," and they were completely fine with it.
I've never heard of that narrative before.
Remember that scene
like
in,
someone's keeping my wife warm.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Remember
What
that scene in Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal where they all sit down to watch a movie and like it's a regular movie and then it cuts to like on the same VHS a video of one of the soldiers' wives getting smashed by
No,
yeah.
what?
I never saw. No, I just never
What
saw
is
that movie.
this
Jason's
movie?
seen Jarhead.
You've
right?
seen Jarhead, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, did you know that like about 1/3 of people that get cheated on go back to their partners?
Really?
Mhm.
Is that gendered at all?
Almost like equally.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that good?
It's just interesting.
It
I
is
don't know
interesting.
if it's good because it's individualized, but it is
Forgiveness.
interesting. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fascinating. Hey, you were talking about swingers before we get back to Jason. What's up with the pineapple? How did the pineapple become like the symbol for swinging?
I actually don't know, but it's not just the pineapple, it's the upside down pineapple.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But what? No, you don't know?
I don't know the history.
You've swung.
I have.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I would be more inquisitive as to the fruit. Now, Jason Vest is here, and you did
Hold
such
on,
a...
I got it. The pineapple.
Oh, what? What do you have?
He has the
The
history of
pineapple
the
became
pineapple.
a symbol for swinging, particularly in the context of alternative lifestyles because of its seemingly innocuous nature.
Sure you got it?
Yeah, innocuous nature with which allowed for a discreet way to signal openness to non-monogamous.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't-
yeah,
yeah,
that's
okay.
the meaning. But like, what's the
Swing
history?
and a
Like,
miss.
why did they choose it?
Well, in 1902, no, I don't know.
Oh,
Do you think swinging is on the rise?
yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
All right. Jason, feet are definitely on the rise. I
Yeah.
think your sort of cultural moment has arrived, if I'm going to be honest with you here. You really pioneered feet, love, in a lot of ways. And so, in addition to this amazing moment you had on Kill Tony, which, by the way, I mean, I don't know if you know if we did we let him talk about this a little bit, because then we started talking about swinging. How was that on Kill Tony?
It was wild. So I walk out on stage and I was nervous, and Gabriel Iglesias, like Fluffy, dapped me up, and right before I got on stage. And then I start talking about feet, and he pulled his sock off and he showed his bare feet, and he's like, rate my feet. And I'm like, man, I'm rating Fluffy's feet, and they were kind of rough looking, to be honest with you. Like, and he made me touch the bottoms of his feet. And it was pretty weird, but I got to talk about like some people's feet that I don't like. Kill Tony.
Now, isn't Gabriel Iglesias like huge KROQ guy? Like, you probably met him a zillion times, right, Muggs?
Yeah, he's a big KROQ fan.
I mean, I don't think he knows he can say no when KROQ asks him to come by. He is like a huge KROQ fan, and I think has probably been on. He's probably on Kevin and Bean how many times?
A handful.
Yeah, a handful.
Yeah.
So you have Gabriel Iglesias' sock, which is very nice. You can see that go into Jason Vest's mouth if you want to on youtube.com/KROQ if you're listening to the podcast right now. But you also, you've kind of been staying busy sexually, if you don't mind me saying this. And a lot of your sex does revolve around the feet. And, and you've been getting kind of busy, and you actually said, well, could I come on Loveline and maybe update the audience on your escapades? So we said, yeah, why not? And highlight what you've been doing in the world of feet. So do you want to tell us what you've been up to?
Yeah, well, since I got on Kill Tony and I talked about having a sock collection, I've had women from all across the country trying to send me their dirty socks. That's pretty cool. Like, I got a surplus of socks now. That's pretty wild. A woman from Australia wants me to send me her marathon socks. She just ran a marathon in them.
Wow. Now, I've heard this happening with panties, but I guess socks too. That's interesting. And this really all just to bring the audience up to speed, Jason. This goes back and dates back to your mother who made you cut her toenails?
Yes, my mom made me trim her toenails when I was 8 years old.
That's insane. So,
she did.
Is your wife getting jealous from all these women sending their socks?
Oh, hell no. My wife knows her toes are number one.
Oh.
She knows what she's working with. My wife's a 10 out of 10. She's pretty on paper. She's perfect. She's got the best feet I've ever seen. So she's confident in what she's got in her toe action, if you will. So like I can look, but she knows I ain't gonna stray. She knows I'm not gonna stray that far away.
So she's aware she has great feet, because some women, they can be beautiful, but they don't know it. But Melissa does know that she has amazing feet. She has nothing to worry about.
And she got white toes too.
So, what are white toes?
White
toenails. If
toenails.
you got white toe polish, that means you're a freak.
Oh, really? I've heard about the white pants back in the day. You remember that? The white pants?
No.
There was a rumor back in the day. This is so irresponsible, and I'm not saying I condoned this, but there was a rumor that if a woman went out to like a nightclub and she was wearing white pants, that she... This is so crazy. This was literally a rumor. If a woman went to a nightclub and was wearing white pants, that means she wanted anal.
What?
Am I the only one that has ever heard that?
Yes, you're the only one.
Is that like
I've never heard that.
I'm not making a joke. I'm not making a joke. It might be a Jersey Shore thing. I grew up in New Jersey, but that was a real thing. If a woman was wearing white pants, that meant she wanted anal.
It sounds like a Jersey Shore thing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of like the white toes. So the white toes are, if they get the white nail polish, it means that woman's a freak.
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be French tip, but then it changed.
Okay. When did it change?
I don't know, but I just know, like, I notice here in Texas, white toes everywhere.
Now, do women have bigger feet in Texas?
Oh, yeah, they're massive down here.
Yeah, big feet.
Else, mitts, gorilla feet. Like,
really?
Man, mitt. Pick up things with their toes. Like, because everybody wears sandals down here because the weather's nice.
Yeah, people can do that. There's there are feet OnlyFans that people can pay to ask the creator to pick up stuff that they want them to pick up.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you could ever go gay for feet? Like, do you ever like? Is it only women's feet that you appreciate, Jason, or do you also like the man feet?
So I don't sexually look at men's feet, but I judge men's feet, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I see some jacked up some jacked up feet, like at the gym, I go to the sauna every day. I judge that man. Like, if you can't take care of your toenails, what the hell's wrong with you? You know, I got good looking toenails.
So
My toes are pretty.
fill us in a little bit on some of these escapades. What are like
All right.
like, because you know Jason is famous for these lists. So he does these lists. And if you look at his Kill Tony episode, what's it called? How can we tell people to check it out?
Episode 703, Gabriel Iglesias.
Okay. So if you check that out, he does this amazing list of like well, what was the list you did on Kill Tony?
Tony Hinchcliffe asked me the 3 dirtiest things I've ever done, and I can't say on air. You guys would get kicked off.
Yes, but they were pretty crude, and they're actually real. You can look up a lot of these places that he said they happened at, and they're real places. So, okay, so you have a list you prepared, Jason, of these. I guess how you introduce it.
So these are the 3 freakiest things I've done foot related in my life. And I'm glad you gave me the platform to talk about this so we can get guys and girls talking about their love of feet. So this is like the first freakiest thing I ever did. I'm big on foot odor, right? I like a stinky foot. I like a stinky armpit. I like a stinky foot. It's got character, right? And I used to go to these strip clubs growing up, and I would bring 1 pair of ankle socks, and I'd find the perfect girl, and I would give her that sock. And I'd make her wear it around the club for like 2 or 3 hours, let her do her thing, let it marinate a little bit. Then I'd take that sock back, put it in a Ziploc bag, and catalog it. And I got a collection. I have amassed a collection of dirty socks from across the country.
Wow.
Now, for aspiring foot appreciators or aspiring connoisseurs, as Dr. Tara has deemed you, how long would you recommend someone keep the sock in the Ziploc before appreciating?
How long? I would say.
How long should you let it marinate?
Oh, months. It's better with age, man. It's like wine.
Do you have any like 2007 vintages from a Deja Vu?
I got some 2001.
No.
Jackson, Michigan, Keter Show Bar. It's where my mom used to dance, man.
Oh,
In fact,
what?
the dancer, those socks, my mom danced with that woman.
Oh my gosh.
Was your mom an erotic dancer?
She was, yes.
Wow.
This is all starting to make sense.
Yeah.
So Jason, give us the next on this list, number 2.
All right. So I used to go to this adult bookstore all the time, and this was just right off the highway. It was like a highway, like porn shop. And they had like a girl there that would give massages too, off to the side.
What do you mean? Wait, hold on. What do you mean off to the side?
So they
What
had
do you
like
mean?
a little like area you could go at the side of this bookstore. It's closed now, so I can say it. It's called the Velvet Touch in Parma, Michigan. And you go in, and you pay $5 to get in. That's just to peruse the bookstore and all the sex toys, right?
I never heard of a
And off
cover.
to
That's
the
incredible.
side, they got this room, and for enough money, you can get a massage, right? And I was admiring this woman's feet. I could see her feet, and I paid her $45 in all nickels to digit dance on her toes. And Kevin, I got athlete's foot on my lips.
No. I didn't know
Yes.
that was possible. What was it? The
Yes.
athlete's mouth?
Athlete's lip, man. It's a real thing.
Jason. And how old
Wow.
were you when this happened?
I was about 23 at the time.
At least you were an adult. Now, what is number 1 on this godforsaken list?
Okay. So number 1, and this is a rough time in my life back when I used to drink a lot. I'm 7 years sober now, but this was back when Four Loko came out. It was 2011, 2010, back when the good Four Loko formula.
Oh, I remember that original recipe.
Oh, yeah. I got really messed up. I was on a Greyhound bus to go visit my girlfriend in Biloxi, Mississippi. I passed out, and I woke up, and this Mexican gentleman is belting out Bon Jovi's Bed of Roses in broken English. That's what woke me up, right? And I looked down, and I got my right foot, the sock was off, my shoe was off, and I was toe tickling that fool, if you get my drift. I was pedal pleasuring that man, if you get what I'm saying.
What?
And it was one of the most romantic experiences of my entire life, Kevin, and I'm not gay.
Wow.
So, but the lines, to invoke the great Robin Thicke, the lines do get a little blurred, it sounds like, Jason, when it comes to feet.
I mean, no, not really. I was just really messed up. I passed out. I woke up.
But
my
you
toes
were-
They
You were
went a walking,
pleasuring
man.
him.
You were pleasuring the man.
Pedal pleasuring, yes.
Okay, pedal pleasuring. I like that. Pedal pleasuring.
pleasure.
Now, have you ever done anything like that, Dr. Tara? Pedal
Yeah.
pleasuring?
I dated someone that had a foot fetish, and I gave it all.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I got really good
Why don't I want to do that?
because you don't have the fetish.
But why? Why don't I have it?
Because when you were young, that nothing had happened to you that wired feet with pleasure.
Okay.
But something definitely happened to you with older women.
Well, I have a whole theory on that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to explain that?
Yeah.
So a lot of things in my childhood were not explained to me. So no, but that's not. I'm being serious with you, doctor. This is a running issue I have, where I host a show with a doctor, right? And then I open up and I confide Jason in the doctor, and the doctor laughs at me. It's terrible, but there were a lot of elements of my upbringing that weren't explained to me. And so I think that I developed a fascination with the duality of life and trying to figure out, like, what are people really like? And so when I discovered that, like, these women that might look like, as our guest walks in, oh, wow. They've got props. We have a dominatrix coming on Loveline in a matter of moments, Jason. Yeah. Oh, hey, you down, boy. But anyways, as I grew and I became fascinated, but who are people really? Like, how do people really act? Again, this isn't funny, Dr. Dar. How do people really act behind closed doors? And so I think that kind of led to the novelty of these traditional older women types, and being like, wow, but behind closed doors they act a different way. So I think it was I don't want to say a novelty thing. I also think it was an emotional thing because I was around old people my whole entire childhood, where my grandparents were older. My cousin, who was kind of a sister to me, was 8 years older. I was like a friend to my mom. She's obviously older. My aunt was older. It's like everybody in my house was older.
Yeah.
And then so, and also if you go through messed up stuff as a kid, some people do. I'd like to think I did. I matured quicker.
Yeah.
And so that played into it too. No, but in all seriousness, so Jason's mother, who was an erotic dancer, where was that? In Michigan?
Jackson, Michigan, Keter Show Bar.
Jackson, Michigan. Shout out to the Keter Show Bar.
It's closed.
Okay.
Oh.
Leave a Yelp review. That rewired his brain to be really into feet.
Yeah.
So why am I not into feet? I never had anything with feet.
No.
Okay, I'm really into boobs.
So you definitely had things with boobs.
Why?
Well, when you were younger, perhaps a time when you had a random erection, it was a correlated time with someone with really huge breasts.
Really?
Maybe it's someone that you walk past as a child, at a mall. It doesn't have to always be super sexual. It doesn't have to be I watch porn. Sometimes it can be as simple as a barista at Starbucks and you were 13 and you had an erection and she had really big breasts.
But then the thing that's weird though is that then tens of hundreds of millions of men also had this moment.
Yeah.
If we follow that theory.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not the moment. Maybe we're just are we just born this way?
No. People, babies were not born to think about
breasts,
sexual things.
Yeah, but what if it's breast milk? Maybe that's where it all comes from.
No, but then why wouldn't every single human? Then why wouldn't other girls be? We all drank breast milk too.
I'm thinking about this now. And if you go to a restaurant and there's a really good dish, you're gonna remember that restaurant, and you're gonna be like, we got to go back to that restaurant. And so maybe when you were getting breastfed by your mom as a kid, you're like, this is damn good milk. I need to come back to this place, right? I gotta remember to come back to this place, right? And then you get older, and then you're like, you go back to places like that place.
Why don't you call your mom and ask if her breast milk was sweet?
I don't want to do that at all. But Jason, thank you so much for joining us here on Loveline.
Thank
you,
Jason.
man.
You're always welcome, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Catch you later, Dr. Tara.
Hey,
Thank
hey,
you,
hold
bye.
on. To assign him some business acumen, do you want to plug anything, Jason?
Yes. March 23rd, I'll be at headlining Hanover's in Austin, Texas. I'm pretty excited. Come on out.
Hell yeah. And then also he can't say his username. Right, Muggs? He can't say his username.
No, we gotta
Yeah.
find a word. We gotta.
You
find
can
a way
find me
around
as
that.
Jason Vest on social media.
Yeah?
I'm searchable. Yeah, I'm searchable by my name.
Okay. Oh, hey, what's the catchphrase you wanted to give him?
Me?
Yeah, you remember with the power vested in me.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
I love it.
Think about it. I don't know. Don't be
I love
polite.
it.
He's being polite. He's like, oh, I love it. Like we just gave him an ugly sweater or something. All right, dude. You're the best. I'll talk to you.
All right, catch you guys later. Take care.
Bye.
All right, coming up next on Loveline, we are joined by a real-life dominatrix. It is Kevan Kenney, Dr. Tara, producer Muggs, and, I will be very honest. I'm very excited about who's in the studio right now. We're starting to introduce guests into Loveline,
Yeah.
and this is an amazing guest. I want to thank Dr. Tara for introducing us to this guest.
You're welcome.
We have talked about the subject of doming and subbing and that the culture that surrounds it. And we've gotten questions about that dynamic.
Yeah.
And now we're actually going to hear from a real-life dominatrix. Please welcome to Loveline, Mistress Damiana Chi is here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. Really more than you know.
Well, if you don't mind, you were mentioning you grew up here in the Southern California area.
Yeah.
And you actually listened to the original Loveline. And it sounds like it was maybe influential.
Actually, yes. So when Tara invited me to come on your show, I wasn't aware that you are like nationally syndicated outside of Los Angeles. I still figured that you were still just a radio program, in LA, and that was it. Like live radio, and that was it. That's what I thought because, yes, I used to listen to Loveline when I was around 14 years old. I'm dating myself, but it's okay. And I had it on my Walkman in bed on Friday nights, and I would listen so my parents wouldn't know I was listening to like a sex show when I was 14 and supposed to be asleep.
And now you're a dominatrix.
Yeah, and because I was fascinated with sex, and so
Yeah.
so I guess it does relate.
Now, did you so when you talk about your sexual journey and your sexual education, of course, Loveline played a small part in that. At what point do you realize that you have this interest in, before you even put a term on it like dominatrix, just this interest in maybe having control during sex? Is that where it starts? And forgive me if I'm naive in asking that, but how does it start? It can't just be like one day, I'm a dominatrix. There must be something that speaks to you, right, in your sexual journey.
Well, when my first real boyfriend, I was 16, and I was very sexually dominant with him. And it was natural. I felt natural with the role, and it wasn't like I didn't know anything about BDSM, or it was called S&M back then.
Right.
I didn't know anything about it. It wasn't like that. It was just like I told him what to do. And it wasn't like he was my slave. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
But I was very dominant in the relationship. And so when it came time for me to become a dominatrix, I was like, oh, me bossing like boys around, men around, that's so easy.
Did it sound like this?
I'm gonna your throat, you dirty slut. Oh my God, Muggs! I thought this was not good for FCC.
That was edited.
He edited it. Muggs actually, in all seriousness, Misters, the Muggs over here, the producer of the show, I think, is it fair to say, Muggs, you have quite the interest in this line of work?
I do.
Yeah, Muggs is
That's great.
a sub, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that people are coming out and just owning it, like not embarrassed, because this is a thing people have been ashamed of for a long time. I mean, I have
Too
older
long.
clients that they hit it, and they were ashamed of it, and then finally started their first experience when they were like 40 or 50, 60 even, but nowadays I meet younger men who they're not ashamed because of the way sex is talked about these days. It's more of we're more open and accepting. So I think it's wonderful.
It's funny, we talk a lot on the show about the downsides of pornography use and things like that, and just, warning signs and things to be cautious of. I do think that maybe the normalization of a lot of kinks, if this is, and she's teaching me terms, so if I ever misuse a term, if it's a fetish or a kink, you let me know.
I'll educate you.
I think the normalization of a lot of different lifestyles via pornography, I think where younger men maybe can identify, we celebrate in culture, and rightfully so, representation and the power of representation in terms of having, people being able to identify with others. I think that does happen in pornography maybe, and maybe that's like leading a little bit or a lot.
I think it's good and bad.
You do?
It's good that it's normalizing the genre, like the act, like it's okay. But
Right.
it's bad because it's false representation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And
So
even of kink.
So for everybody listening right now that has seen, say, BDSM porn or dominatrix porn, how different is that than what you do on a daily basis?
Well, like it's not that different in the way it looks. Like, you'll see some porn act with BDSM and kink in it, and that happens, but it's only a glimpse of what it really is. Because what BDSM is, and most people don't know this, is that it is a truly connecting, it's one of the most connecting ways you can be with someone. And it doesn't necessarily have to involve like genital sex, like the biggest sex organ in kink is the mind. And so that's not depicted in porn because that doesn't make the money,
Right.
That's not depicted in the movies. It's not interesting, and it won't, the audience will get bored if you're like, oh, about the money,
Yeah.
But I hope that there will be some more depictions of more realistic BDSM because it is so, it's so profound and deep, and the level of trust that has to exist between two people when they do this, when they have this interaction and relationship and dynamic, it's the deepest. Like you have to have a lot of trust in your partner in order to say, I want you to step on my face because that's hot. And for the person to say, I'm going to do that because I get hot doing it to you. I mean, these things are so fascinating. Like I got into being a dominatrix through the academic world in my master's degree in psychology.
Now that's so
psychology, and because I was interested in the psychology of it.
Because I was friends with a dominatrix once, and really good friends actually. And we never even. I mean, there were sexual elements to our relationship, but nothing that ever happened in person. But somebody that I really connected with mentally, and this person was an Ivy League professor and was just an intellectual to say the very, very least. Do you think there's a connection between you're very accomplished, you have your PhD? Is there a connection in your estimation between IQ and
Yes.
dominatrix? What's the proper term,
IQ,
by the way?
I mean,
dominatrix work or like
domination.
Domination.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So in order to be a good dominatrix, you have to understand people psychologically. So there's a lot of psychology that has to be there. You don't have to be you don't have to be a psychologist or even have a high degree, but you have to be psychologically minded and be able to have interest in learning what makes that person tick and why do they find that hot. And I'm gonna find that out so that I can find what's hot in it for me. And all of this is in the mind. It's very what's the word for something that you find sexy because it's sapiosexual? Is that the word?
yeah.
For
you find
like
something
an
hot?
intellectual attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sapiosexual.
Sapiosexual.
Now-
People have told me that they're interested in
Yeah.
in doing sessions with me because they are sapiosexual.
Yeah. Wow. I have a question actually because you describe like doing these things and it's hot for them, right? Obviously it's hot for them because they're asking for the service. But you said it's hot for you.
Oh yeah.
So when you go to work,
Mm-hmm.
it's pleasurable for you too.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like
I
quote
mean-
unquote like work.
It's not ever like work. It's work as far as like my body's doing the thing and I might get tired at the end of
Right.
the day like that, but it's play. That's that's how it feels. I'm playing all day long.
And do you play with all your clients? Because when the last time we hung out, you came to my house with, can I say it?
Yeah,
with
yeah.
your slave.
Yeah.
You came to my house with your slave, and your slave was very obedient. You said like stay there, and he stood in the corner quietly the whole time. And then you said like kneel down and like go on all fours, and he did that. And I was like, oh my god, like can I try sit on him? And she's like, sure, let me order it. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
she's gonna sit on you now.
Yeah.
And so is that every day?
Every day. Yeah. Well, so I have personal slaves and, you know, a stable. They call it a stable. I have a stable of slaves, which means I'm the mistress of the house. You know, my dungeon is my house. My BDSM studio is my dungeon. And when I walk through the door, my slaves drop to their knees and bow to me. And that's like, and I walk in, and that's how they greet me. And that's normal life. It's normal life.
So am I a dominatrix if I want my husband to do that to me when I get home?
Yes.
You might just be needy.
There is, you know, I have, I have an academy where I teach women how to become dominatrices, and many of them are in personal relationships with their husbands. It's called an FLR, female-led relationship. And so these are actually real, like, you know, these women have husbands who are their slaves, and they had better be on their knees waiting for them when they walk through their door, and if they're not, they get punished.
Wow.
So all of your stable of slaves, you guys all live under the same roof?
Oh no, it's not like we live there.
Okay.
No, it's my studio.
They come and go.
So explain like the concept of a dungeon to somebody.
Yeah. So it's my working studio. Like I do sessions there with clients and with my personal slaves. And I rent it to other doms as well, and they see their clients there, and they do sessions. So it's a working studio. And you're welcome to come by anytime.
Could we get a tour?
Yes.
Like, could I get a tour and not
I would love it.
be yelled at or anything?
Yeah. So you know, so I don't live with my slaves, but some dominatrices do live with their slaves if that's their partner, you know. So I live with I have 2 daughters, you know, 2 teenage daughters, 2 dogs, 2 cats. I live a very vanilla lifestyle in a suburban neighborhood. And then I come to downtown LA where I can have my studio, and I basically live a very real double life.
Right. But do you like that duality?
I do.
Have you
actually.
always liked duality in your life?
You know, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I ask because we were talking earlier about Dr. Tar. Dr. Tar is the type of friend where if you tell her one thing, she's just going to grill you on this one thing. And so she found out recently that I like older women, or I have enjoyed older women, and I've dated older women.
Nice.
Fetish.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, out of respect for the women, I don't know if it was a fetish. But part of the attraction to me, I think, early on was like there wasn't a lot of things in my young life that were explained to me. There were a lot of elements of my upbringing that were kind of, you know, why isn't my dad around? Or like, you know, why is this person mad at this person in the household? It was a very complicated upbringing. Anyways, what that did is it made me fascinated and sort of obsessed with finding out like what is really going on. And so that leads you to this idea of duality. And I even find it to in art, the director David Lynch. Did you ever watch David Lynch films?
Yeah.
Fantastic,
Love
right?
David Lynch movies,
and you think
yeah.
about, you know, the classic opening scene of a film like Blue Velvet, where you see this, you know, pristine, beautiful suburban road, kids crossing the street going to school, beautiful green grass, beautiful blue skies, and then they dive into the dirt there of the grass, and it's just this disgusting, you know, worms eating worms and what have you. And so anyways, I think duality is something that always has fascinated me, so I'm curious if you felt that you were drawn to that.
I think I've always been that way. For example, like when I was in graduate school, I was the only, you know, to-be psychologist that was a dominatrix, and I wasn't telling anyone at that time, you know, and then, but I was, and because I was, it was good money while I was a grad student, you know, so it was really good for me at that time. And
How do
then
you-
as a
just-
dominatrix,
Just to jump in
Yes,
really quick,
sure.
how do you, and not to interrupt you, but how do you get into that line of work? Just like for the sort of following your journey. How do you go from going, you know, I have this boyfriend when I'm 16 years old and I'm a bit more aggressive than him and I take control, to now you're in grad school and you know how to make a business out of this?
Sure, I can talk about that. But just to finish off that duality question
Yes.
really quick.
Sorry.
So as a dominatrix, I was the only, at the time when I was first starting out and everything, I was really the only one that was like, you know, a PhD student too, at that time. So I felt like I never fit in one, you know, group. I felt very different. And so anyway, that's the duality question. But to answer your question about how I became a dominatrix, so I told you that I was fascinated in studying the submissives, right? How they tick and stuff like that. So my sister knew a guy who she called her slave, and she wasn't a dominatrix in the form of like, she worked in a dungeon or anything like that, but he did errands for her and things like that and called him her slave. And so I interviewed him, and he told me he liked to be humiliated and bossed around and things like that, and I was super fascinated. But so I played with him for like 2 years before I thought, you know what? I want to be a real dominatrix. I don't really want to just do this on my own and just, but I got really good at psychological domination with him. Anyway, I was very fortunate to have grown up in LA because dominatrices were a very underground profession at that time.
Yeah.
It's not like now where you can basically, type in, I want to find a dominatrix, and there's like literally thousands out there
and
on
go
the
on
internet.
radio shows and
Yes, right. So it was very underground. You couldn't like really look up on the internet like to find a dominatrix. We were advertising in these small newspapers that you put a quarter in on the street corner. These little newspapers. It was called New Reality Newspaper, and that's where I was advertising. But anyway, I just asked a friend and asked like, how do I find a dominatrix to train under? And I finally found, one, and then I found two, and I had two mentors who trained me. And so the craft and the art form of female domination was handed down to me with a mentor, kind of like, when you think about like the crafts from the the old days where something like Kung Fu or something was only handed down through a master to their student, and it wasn't like you can't just pick up a book and learn Kung Fu. Mm-hmm. It's a craft, right? And so that's how I was taught. I trained with mentors, and so that's the way you become a dominatrix, is you train with mentors, because yes, you can read all about it in a book, and you can even take a course or two or class or a class here and there. There's classes now,
like your class.
Yeah, I don't really have like a class. I have a program.
Yes.
That you have to go through
and graduate.
Yes. So, you have to go through a training program, I think, to become a well-versed dominatrix who is doing the craft correctly and responsibly.
So how how does a client become a personal slave?
So
you interested?
Yeah. I had a side thought though about you liking older women.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
I just want to be
more.
very clear because she just pigeonholed me.
He is obsessed with older women.
My girlfriend is 7 years younger than me.
Okay.
So it's like no, but like I have loved older women just because
If you had an older woman like be your first, or if you were introduced to sex with an older woman, it's very, very likely that you have a lot of submissive tendencies.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
Because,
I don't have that experience.
Okay.
No, I'm not. But I'm not like I'm like. This is why I love hosting Loveline, is because we have amazing people like you who come on, or even Dr. Tara at times, and you can sort of like self-reflect. That is interesting. I think I would go the opposite way. Actually,
Okay.
I've been a part of some relationships where it's the other dynamic.
Okay. All right.
But
That's okay.
But no. But expound upon that.
Well, because that in that dynamic, kind of like the what's that movie, The Graduate?
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
of course.
older woman and everything.
Yeah.
So it's like young teenage or whatever college age boy with older woman who knows, has been around the block sexually and teaches you a thing or two, and and so it's the older woman's teaching the younger man sexual things. It's very much
I think
female domination.
As you talk there, I think what it is that and you might know the term for this that I might identify as, and I don't even know. She thinks everything I say is funny, but no. In all seriousness, I think what's so powerful about my attraction to older women is that I can. I struggle sometimes to sort of connect with people on a mental level, on a sort of a cerebral level, and then with older women, I happen to do that. I think easier, and then that I think intensifies the attraction.
Yeah.
That's sort of
sure.
the entryway or the pathway in. But so how would a client, I'm just curious in terms of the culture of all this, how would a client become a personal slave?
Well, my personal slaves, I was just talking about this the other day because I taught a 3-day workshop, and I've had lots of people write to me and say, I want to be a sub, or I want to at your workshop, or I want to be your slave, or something like that. And my response is always like, you can't, because I choose you. You don't apply. The way that somebody becomes my personal slave, it comes about naturally and organically, and they just, I choose them based on they've proven themselves around me in some way or another. Maybe they've been a client for a really long time, and then I say, I want you to do some things for me on a personal level, or something like that. Or they are slaves that were lent to me by other doms. We do that a lot. We lend each other our slaves.
Wow.
It's like baseball cards.
Exactly. Well, they are considered our property.
That is pretty
Borrow my
wild.
slave. I need to borrow a slave for this.
That's
Do you
amazing.
do you have anyone? Yes, I'll send them over. That kind of thing.
Right.
So to become my slave, it's really hard, because I don't pick them very often.
It is almost like you use that kung fu example.
Yeah.
No. In all seriousness, it is almost like a martial art. I mean, it's not in terms of, I'm not trying to make a comparison in terms of like combativeness or violence there or aggressiveness, but in the sense of a blue belt, a black belt. Not everyone's going to become an instructor necessarily, to use a very sort of vanilla analogy.
Right. But you're asking how do they become my slave? If they want to come in and have a session,
yes,
then they apply to have a session as a client.
Right. But you're saying
different.
that's how they transcend a client to a personal slave.
That might happen or might never happen.
Right, of course. There's no
only,
promise of that.
Only a few become
Yeah, and it's
personal
kind of
slaves,
like,
and she has a ton of clients.
you think about your personal relationships, you don't like have people lined up to apply to be your husband.
Right.
That
Yeah.
happens organically because
Yeah.
you feel a connection and you're like, you know what? I want to be closer to this person. I want them to be around me more often. That's exactly how it is because these relationships are very real. They're two humans who have bonds. It's just like any relationship.
Does this make dating hard for you personally?
No.
No.
It doesn't make it hard. I mean, whoever I date is going to have to accept that I'm a dominatrix who has slaves.
And do you want to date a sub?
That could happen.
Or like, would you be open to dating like another like dom person?
That's really hard.
Yeah.
It's harder
Yeah.
to date a dominant person, which I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a taboo question.
Yeah.
Because I get this a lot. Like a lot of my followers have asked me, and I'm like, I don't know the answer. And I Googled it, and I couldn't find the answer. And you can be vague about this too. Like, please you don't have to be specific. But like, how are people like paying for sessions? Like, how much are sessions in range?
Oh, okay. So you want me to talk about prices and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
But I know that, like, I don't know. I've talked about this with some of my dominatrix friends, like online before, and they don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay. I'll
Yeah.
talk about it.
Okay.
But first I want to like clarify the other question about like it's harder to date dominant men.
Right.
It's like if somebody's dominant in their personality and they're like very successful and very like dominant in their daily life and things like that, but they have this like very respectful nature towards me and they're not doming me in the bedroom, then it's okay, So I just want to make that clear. Like, as long as somebody's like very respectful, treats me like a goddess, and that could be a dominant man,
Yeah.
then it works. But so anyway, back to the price thing. So I'll just, my tribute's $500 an hour.
Okay.
And
so for all.
What is that, an auction mug?
Is it?
That's nice.
and
like,
that's
for all sorts of activities, or are there certain
hour.
activities more or less per hour?
No, it's just per hour.
Okay.
And I have to say that like the price thing is really controversial, like in my
Yeah.
mind, because not a lot of people can afford that.
Right.
And I wish I didn't have to charge that actually. But so when I first started, I was $2.50 an hour. And then and this was in 1999. And then I changed I bumped up the price like $10 to $2.60 because people had 20s and it was just easier not to make change and stuff like that. So it was $2.60 an hour for like 15 years or something really long. And then maybe less than that. But anyway, so DOMs started becoming more and more like the industry started becoming just exploding.
Yeah.
And so there's all these DOMs out there who were less experienced than me, less trained, not as competent, not as skilled, all of that stuff, charging the same amount. So I'm like, I have to bump up my price because I can't look like that. I can't look the same, So it's forced my tribute. It's called a tribute. It's forced my tribute up and up and up, and it's like, okay.
This guy with the sound effects.
Wait, so when someone asks for like the fee, it's called a tribute?
It's called a tribute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do they just ask like how
It's
much is the tribute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And what it means is it means donation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And in a session, like let's say I book a session, I'm this man, I apply, you accept, I book a session, I show up, like is it always an hour session or can people
No.
go like 5-hour session?
yeah, I rarely do an hour session.
Oh.
Usually it's like 2-3 hours is very common.
Wow.
And 5 hours is fine. That's more of an extended session. And then there's overnight sessions too. But the way that someone can become a client, they have to go through my vetting process. Like
Right.
they have to jump through the hoops, go through my interview, things like that in order to be accepted.
Have you seen, since starting in 1999, have you seen the tastes or the desires of submissives change?
Yeah.
How has that
Actually,
changed?
the submissives it's very difficult nowadays to find good subs because they're not, because a good sub comes from good DOMs that train them. And so because just the whole industry of DOMs, that there was a point in time where there was like hardly any education at all. Femdom education. There was no training, there was no mentors, like for a long stretch of time. And what that created was that subs weren't being trained properly. And nowadays, like I don't see the type of quality subs that I used to. Like when I have somebody come in and they're like, I have 20-30 years experience and I've been trained by so and so and so and so, I'm like, oh, you're a gem, come here, and it's harder these days. So that's why I'm training DOMs, so that they can train good subs with high protocol. That's another thing. I train with high protocol. And a lot of these DOMs these days who are out there in the world are not doing high protocol classical female domination, which is
Can you clarify that to our listeners?
yes.
High protocol.
So like classical female domination is sort of like what we were talking about, that craft that gets handed down, and there's a certain way that you do it. So the way that I do it is classical female domination, and the way that I do it, the art form, can be traced back to England in the 1800s.
Whoa.
And that's kind of like the source,
People in Victorian
Yes,
era be
exactly.
flogging
That's why
and
you
spanking.
ever wondered like why the corsets,
Yeah.
That's why.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think about, like, I'm just gonna ignore those.
Yeah.
I'll bring my real whip.
You might have
sitting
to
right
hit
here.
him because he's
I
a
know,
sub.
I may have to whip you.
He might be a
for real
good
later.
sub.
We are going to have to get the
I think that's what he's trying to make happen.
He's trying to get
actually.
attention
Yeah.
over
Trying to
there,
get
this
in
guy.
trouble.
We do have to get to break in a matter of moments. I think this is a very important question to ask a dominatrix. Is, let's say you're not a dominatrix, but let's say your partner wants you to dominate them, right? So these are just, this is your boyfriend or girlfriend and they have the submissive interest. how can you tell, or could you advise if it's a healthy desire or not? Because I know you've talked on previous podcasts, and I think it was very illuminating that sometimes you'll get requests and you'll recognize in your submissives that, oh, wait a minute, I don't know if this is good for you. Is there anything you should look for, or you would advise, like a lay person, again, not a dominatrix per se, but just somebody that is their partner's maybe like, hey, I want you to be more aggressive, and they might have reservations if that's, healthy.
Right. So I talk about dominatrices. I mean, I even have a podcast called Light Workers Who Play in the Dark, because dominatrices who are responsible and ethical and practicing their craft in a conscious way are light workers. Like, they're actually healers, and they can BDSM is an actual healing modality. Like, you can feel better after seeing a dom, when you walk away from a session, than when you came in. Feel better, like feel elated, feel happy, feel good about yourself. But when you see a dom and you walk away feeling worse about yourself, then that was not domination done the right way. It was more, anything like that is more on the abuse side of, that's. So the difference between BDSM and abuse is consent and ethics is on the side of BDSM, and there's no consent and ethics on the side of abuse, right? So to answer your question, when humiliation and degradation is a kink, it's a very common kink and very popular. So that's kind of like the area where you want to be careful when you're playing with anybody. It could be your partner, wanting to be called a name or call. So I'll just bring up that example that I've used before. Maybe the one that you heard.
You have a small penis.
Mugs.
He's just got all these ready, doesn't he?
He wants your attention.
He wants me to tell him he's got a small penis. You have a small penis, Mugs.
Oh, say it again.
He really
you gotta
is.
pay for that.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah, you gotta pay for that.
He's coming to his own, though, I think, really, like on this show. And Muggs, we'll go along. We'll edit in a break to go to break on the radio show. But he really has come into his own a lot, I think, on this show by being, whether he realizes it or not, being more honest, that he really does like that. It really turns him on.
I think it's awesome. Yeah. So anyway, the example I was going to bring is that I had a client once who came in and said, I want you to call me a fat pig. Like, that was his kink and his fantasy, and that's something that isn't far from what I've done before. So he seemed very kind of level-headed, nice guy, and that was his kink. He wanted me to call him fat. So I was like, okay, I'll call you fat pig then. And then in the scene, when we went into the scene, called him a fat pig, and he was like, do you really mean that, mistress? Really? I'm a fat pig? Really? And I was like, time out. I am not calling you a fat pig for real. Like, I don't think that of you in real life. We're doing role play. This is a scene. I'm not telling you that I think you're a fat pig in real life. So I said, I can't continue this scene because from what I sense from you, I think that you've got some self-worth issues that you should work out, in therapy. Go see a therapist. And because I care about you, I'm not going to continue the scene. So if you say, I'm just telling people out there, be careful when you play with these things. And if you feel like the person is like I said, if they're going to go away from a scene and feel worse about themselves, then don't do it. Don't hurt someone emotionally, psychologically, scar them, in doing play like this. It's not responsible.
So if you have an interest, I'm trying to think, just always thinking to the listener here, if you have an interest in being a submissive, but you also may have a history with abuse, should you proceed with a bit more caution versus somebody who doesn't have a history of abuse and they just naturally have this submissive interest?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
For example, if that person had a history of abuse, let's say that they were hit by a parent or something like that. Let's say that they used to get, I don't know, spanked by their mom or something, and it was really abusive or something like that. So a BDSM session can can heal someone from something like that. And it's called psychodrama. Like there is a type of therapy called psychodrama that I was trained in graduate school in psychology, where you play roles. Like in psychodrama, are you aware of psychodrama?
Yeah, but I've never
Dr. Tara?
done it, so I like
Yeah.
that you're explaining it.
Yeah. So in psychology, in a psychology, like a psychologist therapist session, the therapist would be playing like a mother, the person's mother who abused them, and then the client would be playing themselves at that young age or something like that. And in psychodrama, you play out the role play, and then the mother like ends up not abusing them, or says something like, "I apologize, I'm sorry, I will never do that again," something like that. So changing the outcome, right? Changing the outcome to a loving outcome. So the reason why BDSM sessions are so likened to psychodrama is because I can play with someone like that as long as they are like psychologically healthy, like they have strong self-worth, they know who they are. You know, I even played with someone like this who had real abuse, and maybe I could talk about that. Maybe not, but anyway, I'll just use the fake example. Client comes to me and says, you know, I want you to spank me because I was abused by my mother, and I find it hot to think about the idea of being spanked by my mother. A real abuse, you know, type. And so we do it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to play your mother. I will spank you. And I will, you know, we're going to create this hot scene where I'm going to say, you know, I'm spanking you. I'm doing this for your own good. And this is going to happen every day of your life. And, you know, just do a fun twist to it. Like if you, you know, you're not allowed to go outside and play with your friends because you have to be home and be spanked by me instead. Or something that makes it like obviously a sexy twist, you know, obviously more fun, or obviously, you know, something different. So at the end of, I don't think I'm explaining it right, but at the end of a scene like that with this person, they will feel, because we come out of it, I'm like, how was that for you? That was fun. You know, and they're like, that was really hot. And I would say that I enjoyed that so much. That aftercare, that connection afterwards, is the healing part of psychodrama that doesn't happen in an abuse situation, you know?
Yeah, so
that make
it can
sense?
be. Yeah, no, it definitely does, and I'm glad you answered it that way because I've always been curious if there is, if it can fundamentally be healing, or if it's something
can.
that should be treated a different way. And of course, we can't give out blanket advice. You know, everyone's different.
You know, I think the dominatrix has to be someone that's trained.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, that's what it
and
sounds like.
Yes, it can't just be anyone. It just can't be, because you're playing with some, you know, these are risky things you're playing with.
Yeah, very much
You
so.
could create more trauma if you
Yeah.
don't do it the right way, you know. But you know, I think I'm going to bring in that example, that real life example. I think it'd be okay.
Okay.
So I had a client. I still see him. He was abused by his babysitter, and like sexually and physically. And this was very traumatic for him. And it happened when he was like 12, all the way through like up to like 15, something like that, for years. He was abused by this babysitter. And so he came to me, and he was very like, I was his first dominatrix, real dominatrix. And he was very like, I've been fantasizing about my babysitter for years, and I'm so ashamed about it because I can I say that? I to thinking about her abusing me physically and sexually. And so I said, yes, we can do this. I want to do this with you because I also have a kink for age play and things like that. And so we play it out, and I wasn't his exact babysitter. I said, I don't want to be your exact babysitter. I want to be your babysitter's friend. You know, I'm still that teenager, but I'm her friend. And so we went through this whole scene, and we did the stuff. We did the physical and sexual abuse. Consented.
To like a reenactment, like level.
Reenactment, yeah. Reenactment, but different, you know, the way I did it, you know. And at the end of it, oh my God, he was like, liberated from his trauma.
Wow.
He said it was completely, he said he's been in therapy, like lots and lots of years of therapy for this. But he said nothing was more healing than doing these sessions with me because of the psychodrama element of the role play.
Yeah, because the whole trauma now has been reframed.
Yes.
And it's reframed to something positive and fun and pleasurable.
Exactly. And there's mutual trust.
Yeah.
A deep connection. You know, he sees that there's mutual respect.
Right.
All of that stuff that wasn't in the real abuse. So
good for him.
I know. I know. Good for him.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy to do this type of work.
Oh.
I'm so happy you told that story because I think it totally reframes, as we talk about reframing things, people's impression of dominatrixes, which is, you know, of course, like the layperson is probably just purely sexual and lustful and, you know, all of these sort of connotations.
All that stuff is fun to do.
Right, but there's also real healing, I think, happening that you just outlined. Dr. Tara, I had a question for you in the sense of part of that story was this guy was self-pleasuring himself to what people would, and he probably himself too, would deem a traumatic event. Do you know anything about like why people would do that? I mean, that would seem so backwards to the average person, but obviously there is some sort of like pathway there.
It's definitely a pathway, and correct me if I'm wrong, because like based on, you know, all the research that I've read, whenever people revisit traumatic experiences in their sexual episodes, it's because they're trying to kind of almost like recover or like heal from and change that for themselves, right? Like,
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're pleasuring themselves, and the sexually pleasuring themselves is a pleasurable thing.
Right.
They also feel in control. That's the other thing.
Yeah, like I'm changing it for me.
I'm changing it, and I'm choosing to masturbate myself thinking about this. They are the ones in control where they weren't in control when they were abused.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We unfortunately do have to go. The producer Muggs is telling me. Where can people find you on the internet, Mistress? And you have written a book. I wanted you to just mention that really quickly in closing.
Yeah, sure. So my main website is DamianaChiPhD.com. My socials are also Damiana Chi PhD. It's like at Damiana Chi PhD, and mostly on Instagram. And I have an academy where I train dominatrices, and you can be a practicing dominatrix or you want to become a dominatrix. And that website is academy.theevolutionarydominatrix.com. And I also have a book. The book is called The Dominatrix Archetypes, Become a Multidimensional Dominatrix in the Art of BDSM. And so that can be found on the website, thedominatrixarchetypes.com. You can also find it on Amazon and Audible. I did narrate it myself, so yeah.
That's awesome. And it's what a cool full circle moment to watch, you know, someone who listened to Loveline originally at 14 and now as a guest. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming by.
It's been really special for me. Thank you so much for having me. It's
awesome.
Been a huge pleasure.
All right, we'll be back on Loveline. It is Kevan Kenney. Dr. Tara is here. We're going to take some questions right now from you. If you ever want to get a hold of Loveline, one of the easiest ways to do so is across social media. We will probably every Wednesday or so, just around there midweek, look out on the socials at I Love Loveline. There'll be a prompt there. You can always leave a voicemail at the phone number, of course, during the week if something occurs to you, 1-833-LOVE-191. You have no excuse, basically, to not get a hold of us if you're trying to get a hold of us. Or you could call us. You could try and call us live and get through. Now, this first question, again, this is all anonymous. One of the many benefits of using social media over making a phone call. Somebody might recognize your voice. What's great about this is nobody knows it's you. Okay, this is a very interesting question, Dr. Tara. It says, how can I keep it spicy in the bedroom for my wife as a wheelchair user with limited mobility? So let me just make sure I understand this correctly. This person's saying, how can I keep it spicy in the bedroom for my wife as a wheelchair user? Would your answer change if they were the wheelchair user or if the wife was? Or is it just...
The only thing that would have changed would be positions.
Okay.
But other than that, no, there's so many ways to keep it spicy without like using your legs at
Yeah.
all. Like dirty talk, I think, is so underrated. If you get good at dirty talk and you can deliver it confidently, that is hot. If you want to keep it spicy and you want to surprise your wife, say something really dirty.
Okay.
And another thing that also is underused, I think, especially in long-term relationships, is toys. There's so
Okay.
many types of toys. Like maybe go to the store together, maybe just shop online together, make it a little date night, and like pick a few out.
Okay, I love that, and I think that's maybe there's an even bigger lesson to deduce from what you just said, Dr. Tara, which is you have more at your disposal than you realize. You know, and whether that's you're a guy and you're not in a wheelchair, you're a guy who's worried about his penis size.
Right.
You probably have other things you could do, or your penis might not even be as small as you think it is. Or if
Right.
you're a woman, you have insecurities, you know. And I'm not saying this person has insecurity by any means, but I'm glad you answered that. And I'm glad they sent that in because I think that is important. Where
Yeah.
people in wheelchairs with limited mobility still.
Wheelchair people get horny too.
That's what I'm saying. Put that on a T-shirt. All right. This next question is: how do I bring up to my partner? I think she may be into it.
Oh, I don't know if you can say that word.
Well, Muggs. No. Okay. Well, hey, how do you bring up? Let's play a game here. Muggs, you can feel free to jump in if you'd like to. Let's play a game. How would you describe that word I can't say on Loveline? A woman doing
Anal sex on a male partner.
Okay, yeah. There you go. Is that good, Judge Muggs?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to give him a gavel.
Yeah, like Judge Judy,
Yes, exactly.
but on sex terms.
I was gonna say Joe Brown, but sure, Judy. Okay, so that exactly, like kind of like yeah, like you remember when you used to ride a bicycle and you'd be on the back of your friend's bicycle and there'd be those pegs that would stick out. Mm-hmm. Imagine if there was an on the end of that word. So he said, this guy wants to know how.
Jesus Christ, dude. What are you doing? She already just explained it fine. You did
But
not
there
have to
may be
do
people that don't know,
I
bro.
think they got it from what she said.
All right.
Thank you, dude.
That guy
What
needs
the
that guy
hell?
needs a Snickers, dog. All right, how do I bring up that to my partner? I think
Yes.
she may be into it.
Oh, this is a man asking. I thought it was a woman saying, "How do I bring it up? I want to do it to him."
No, this is a man. This is a
Oh,
man.
the man's like, "I want her to do it to me."
Yeah, and
You know,
he
this
thinks
is-
she may be into it.
You know, this is fascinating because, like, if you ask, most women will be into it.
Really?
Yeah, because like it's such a cool experience because it's number one, like kind of unique, right? Like it's still new, it's on the rise, but it's a cool and unique experience. And number two, like many women have always been curious of what it's like to have a penis. And so if you actually do that act, which I don't recommend for people that are beginners, like you don't want to like go to that act immediately. You want to like use like trying to think of a word I can say, a massage, if you will. Like you want to
Okay.
just massage the area first.
Yeah.
Like use the massage, use the fingers, but like you don't want to go with a strap on.
Right.
But then when you're ready and you go shop for a strap on, it's so much fun. And I think that guys asking and being nervous, like don't be nervous. I'm sure your girlfriend will be ecstatic.
Now, not that this is important, but I've always been curious. The men out there, the heterosexual men that are into this, are they sort of on the spectrum? Would you say they're not like 110% heterosexual? Like, why do they have this desire? Because it is
West Hollywood.
it is.
Because it's pleasurable.
It is the reenactment, though, but it's a very literal reenactment of. Would you say that's homosexual sex?
No,
No, it's not.
The anus does not have sexual orientation. You know, sexual orientation is who you are sexually attracted to. It has nothing to do with any body parts.
But you're mimicking a body part.
But you're constructed that, like humans constructed that meaning. Like there's no actual science to it. Body parts are just body parts. So if women can enjoy anal sex, why can't all men, in disregard of sexual orientation, enjoy anal sex too?
So you're saying
Anal sex for everybody.
That's what she's running on in 2026.
Yep. Better than Trump.
So wait, so because it's a little bit of a heady concept you're introducing here. So you're saying that if a heterosexual man desires the equivalent of a penis
No. It's not about the penis. Let's remove from that, because the P act is not about the penis. It's about massaging or stimulating the prostate.
But that's very different. You can do that
Outside, but you can also do it inside.
Right, but you could also do that with like a finger.
Yeah.
Which is gender neutral. I'm saying, don't you think there's something a little different about when you cross the threshold of, well, how is it not different though? Because now it's mimicking part of a male anatomy. Which, by the way, to be very clear, is completely fine. I'm more fascinated when we talk about these things because I have a doctor here.
So sometimes
the
it's
psychology
just a stick.
of these things.
Sometimes the strap-on isn't even like an
You say
actual...
just a stick?
Yeah.
Okay, but please.
Like it's a crystal like stick that looks like a little hot dog.
Okay.
Like it's not. It doesn't have to mimic actual penis. But even
a
if
lot
it
of times
does,
it does though.
But even if it does, it has nothing to do with sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is who you are sexually attracted to. That attraction has nothing to do with body parts.
I know, but I'm just very fascinated by this concept that so you're saying that a heterosexual man who identifies as heterosexual could want
anal sex.
Yeah, but a penis-like object. Muggs, help me out here. How I can say this? Don't
say it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's not. It's not indicative.
I know, but you're not even letting me say the thing. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, so this show that is so fun to host and try to talk about and gives me a headache. Okay. You're saying that you can be interested in that as a heterosexual man, and it's an act that mimics anatomy that is accustomed to male anatomy, and that is not at all homosexual.
No.
Okay. But I'm asking you this, by the way, because there are heterosexual men that would be into this, that are going to have those questions about themselves.
Yeah.
So you're saying that they can do that and not have to question their sexuality or orientation.
Exactly.
Okay, that's interesting.
Penis.
There you go. All right. This next person says, she sent me nudes, 100% consent. Okay, hold on. If you have to say something was consensual, I start to have reservations if it was consensual. This person goes, she sent me nudes, 100% consensual, and her idea, but doesn't go further, question mark, question mark. This is interesting because I've done this too. I've done this too. Like I've sent nudes and not gone further. But what I've been on the receiving end of like women who are very sexual on text messaging, or they'll respond to your Instagram stories and they'll be very suggestive, and then you'll be like, hey, I'm in your city, let's hang out. And they never want to hang out. Now, of course, that could be a whole umbrella of things. They could be cheating on their significant others.
Yeah.
They could just have cold feet. It could just be a fantasy thing. But for this person who writes in and says, she sent me nudes, 100% consensual, and her idea, but doesn't go further. What's up with that?
I guess I don't understand what doesn't go further mean. Like, did you want her to send like a masturbation video?
I would assume, and I apologize if this is your question and I'm misassuming, but I would assume he means like nothing physical.
In person.
Yeah, in person.
Oh, I would just need to know more, man. Like I can't diagnose because like are they hanging out regularly? Are they they're hanging out regularly but she refuses to have sex? If that's the case, then like there are two reasons. Like one, she's not actually truly interested in you. She sends that out for external validation.
Right.
And then
which I think is a big thing, right?
It is. It really is. Like, I mean, back in the days when I was single, like Snapchat was there.
Yeah.
There were guys that I'm like playing with and I'm sending stuff to, but I'm like, I have no interest in being with this person.
Oh, yeah. Snapchat was crazy.
Snapchat is crazy. It still is.
Is it still crazy?
Oh, it's Gen Z's #1 communication method.
Yeah.
Like, they only talk on Snap.
Yeah, it's wild. I had to delete it after a while.
Really?
Yeah, especially when I got into a relationship, because it was just like every single girl I ever sexted with, because that's the only thing I did on Snapchat.
It's the only thing anyone does.
Yeah, I mean, what do you like? But then I'd have these like doofus friends of mine, like at work on like the construction site, being like, long day. I'm like, dude, get out of here, man.
It's not what it's for.
That's not what it's for, man. That's not what it's for. But it would be like almost like a museum of every single girl I ever sexted with from like the ages of like 19 to 30. And I was like, I don't need this. That's a whole thing too, by the way, with social media is we don't need to know what the girl you hooked up with in Mexico 6 years ago is doing right now. And I think there's actually probably a negative effect it has on relationships. Just that connection. Because back in the day, you would meet someone, you'd have a one-night stand with them perhaps, and then, or maybe you'd see him for a month or 2 months. And then guess what? You don't know what happened to Sally. You lost, you don't know what happened to Rebecca. And that's fine because life is supposed to move forward.
Right.
And I worry sometimes now with social media that people are not truly moving on because with these algorithms, you'll randomly get served a story from a girl you hooked up with in Florida 7 years ago. And you'll go,
a guy I hooked up with long time ago just DM'd me. I mean, we hooked up in his van. He lived in a van.
You once hooked up with a guy in a van?
He
You don't
lived
seem
in
like
a
somebody.
van. Like a fitted van.
Down by the river?
There's
I
a
don't know
drop.
what that means.
Please don't do that drop in 5 minutes.
There's like what does that mean?
I love you.
Oh my god. There was a bed in it. There was a bed in it.
Stop! I know him.
Anyways, he's DMing me and he's like, "Oh wow, you're such a big deal now. Want to get together?" Smiley face. I'm like,
Guys are so, dude. It's whenever. Can I put out another PSA? Okay. Now, whenever I give out these PSAs, I implore you, if you're listening to the podcast or the radio show, to watch the YouTube show, youtube.com/KROQ, because I look directly at the camera and I give a PSA. If you are a man and you are considering at this given moment or recently have considered doing what Dr. Tara just said, if you've recently considered reaching out to a woman you slept with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or more years ago,
Do it like this.
I might be down with that actually.
Both of you, we have to finish thoughts on this show. We have to finish thoughts. Tara doesn't understand we need to finish thoughts on this show.
Moving on.
No. If you're thinking about doing that, J it. And then tell me if you want to do that. Okay? J it and then revisit the topic. But J it first. J it and then go back. Okay? Don't do that before you J it. J it and then do that. Okay.
Say J it one more time.
J it.
J it before you go to Taco Bell.
J it before you
before
spray it.
J it before you go.
J it before you catch a case. I mean, really. I mean, like, really, like, J it. Like, because I think what, like, dude, I would get so horny sometimes.
Yeah, and just like text girls.
And then I'd be like, oh my God,
you
this
regret it?
person's. No, I would, like, it's like women don't understand what it's like, right?
What do you mean? I get really horny.
No, but you don't get. It's like Muggs. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like you're under the influence of a substance. I would go so far as to say that and then you like
baby batter on the brain. That's what it is.
What?
It's better than baby batter, dude.
Okay, come on, dude. Jesus.
What I'm saying is, I would get so horny sometimes, and then I'd make plans with a girl, and then I'd like get unhorny and I go, oh my, now this girl's coming over, and I'd go, how do I get out of this? And then I get all stressed and I go, I don't want to hang out with this person. I was horny, and you make a lot of mistakes when you're horny. So, anyways,
You're rubbing your nipples.
Yes.
J it.
Okay. How? This next question comes from.
It's like the Ram song. Just J it.
Just J it. Just J it. Just J it.
That's Beat It from Michael Jackson.
Oh, thanks, man. Nothing gets past you. All right. This guy goes.
He knows music.
We have to do a show, I swear. Okay.
Yes.
How do you communicate with your partner if you catch them watching porn and it's not allowed?
Wow, there's a lot of problems with this question. Because, like, number one, why is it not allowed? Like
100%. Like, no, you know what I want to know? It's like, why were porn privileges taken away? You know what I mean?
Time out.
Something happened. Yeah. Like, you know what's actually recently happened to me? So I got this huge TV, like a massive 100-inch TV. It was like right before the pandemic. And
you watched porn on it?
Well, I'm getting there. Can I tell us? I love you, Tara. I have to tell a story. Okay. So it came with an internet browser. So as a joke, I used to live in an apartment where in downtown Jersey City, you could just see right into it, right? And so it was like right in this cross section of like almost like out in here in Los Angeles, if you're listening, like a Highland and Hollywood and Highland.
We
right?
got it.
Okay. So I as a joke one time I put porn on and I just left it on because my buddies were coming over and I just wanted it as a gag. But I went on it the other day, like the internet browser, because I forgot I had one, and just boom, that was the last thing from 5 years ago, which I thought was crazy.
Good for you.
Yeah, so my porn privileges have probably been revoked. But go on.
Porn with like mindful consumption of porn is completely fine and okay, and actually can be beneficial for couples to sexually explore new things together. So I don't understand why it's not allowed. Maybe there was something that happened. Maybe the person was like a porn addict, and so maybe the girlfriend's trying to help him curb it. But at the end of the day, like, I don't judge if you guys have a protocol where like you can't watch porn. That's fine. That's like your prerogative. So now if you catch him and he's watching porn and it's not okay, I would say bring it up just the same way that you would bring up any time the person is violating expectations. So you start, it's called the poop sandwich. So you start with something positive, like I really love how our relationship is going, and I really appreciate when we like get to spend time together and sexually connect. But hey, like, I just want to bring this up and be open and honest with you. The other day I saw that you were watching porn. It makes me feel some type of way. And then just explain with vulnerability, like, how it makes you truly feel. Like, do you feel judged? Do you feel less attractive? Do you feel less desirable because he does that? And then you also end with, like, thanks so much for listening to me and, like, listening to my feedback. I really appreciate it.
This next question, how do you explore kinks with a partner with reservations?
Slowly and gradually. I have had, like, a few kinks that I wanted to explore and practice, and I've been with people that want to explore and practice different things that I wasn't used to. You don't want to like jump into like requesting or demanding them doing something, but you can try something easy first. For example, many people, like we talked about this, the number one kink in America is a threesome, right? But before you jump into like, oh, let's find a person, you can even try like role play. You can try like watching porn together, because that's like involving another human within your sexual encounter. So try that first, and then kind of get used to non-traditional sexual encounters, and then you can sort of graduate into something more advanced.
I would just say this too. I mean, I'm not a doctor at all, but I'm just reading this question. If you're trying to explore kinks and your partner has reservations about kinks, it might not be the partner for you.
Might not be, but I would be generous with the interpretation of that, because people are like reserved with a lot of things.
Yeah.
So just because they have reservations doesn't mean they can't totally change their minds. Like when I first dated the guy with a foot fetish, I had total reservations. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird, because back in the days I wasn't enlightened.
Right.
And I thought that was weird, and I judged him, right? But at the same time, he was very attractive. So I'm like, oh, fine, like I'll still like date this person. But then every time we have sex, he would just like want to. And
So you started getting jealous of your feet.
I'm like,
And you're like, what do they have that I don't?
yeah.
Start
my
acting like a
self-esteem
foot.
was very impacted
Start not
by my feet.
showering.
But it took me a while. Like, I would say it took me 3-4 times of having sex with him to then come to the conclusion of like, oh, wow, like it has nothing to do with anything. It's just his preference. And I actually found joy and pleasure from like giving him that, like doing that to him. Like, the with my feet. Yeah.
Okay.
With lube too. It's really good.
I'm not into it, but that's awesome. All right. This next person says, I'm 43, hornier than ever. Muggs, I told you not to write this show.
Is this Muggs?
More than my 20s.
I'm 41.
Muggs is like, damn it, it was a typo. Does the desire for sex ever slow down? Can I just say something? There is a type of Loveline listener and Dr. Tara fan. I just think they're posturing. There was a guy last week that was just posturing. This guy's just bragging that he's 43. He's like, I'm 43. I'm hornier than ever, more than my 20s. Does the desire for sex ever slow down? Now, I shouldn't mock him, because maybe this is a legit question, and I apologize if this is you. But Does it ever slow down? It has to, right?
It can, but again, it's not like a linear relationship. It's actually like a tumultuous relationship. Like throughout your lifetime, you will experience high libido at some point, lower libido at some point, high libido at some point. For example, I had a friend who's like a very sexual person. Now her dad recently passed away, and now she has like zero desire. Right? Like
That's a roller coaster of a sentence.
that's what I'm saying. Life happens and your libido goes the same. So
Right.
for this guy, like maybe something happens and libido goes down, but then, you recover, libido goes up. Like it kind of just goes like that.
How many grandparents do you think are banging each other?
Oh, a lot. That's you heard about.
No. Really?
You heard about the nursing home STDs, right?
No. Why are you? You're saying that like that's my beat at the local, like at KNX. That's like what I cover. Oh yeah, you heard about that, right? You had to have heard about that.
Kevin, but you're into old people.
Yes. I'm never gonna live that down.
Well, so there's a study or a survey that reported, and you can Google this too, Muggs. It's a big news that there was like STDs on the rise at nursing homes because old people are horny.
Yeah, but that's in the captivity. They're in nursing homes.
They're not in
I'm just saying,
captivity.
like the grandparents that would come to like school events and stuff growing
They have
up.
sex.
Really?
Yeah, they have sex. They
I
do
don't think
oral. They do
so.
69.
Sexually transmitted diseases are a growing problem in nursing homes.
Yep.
Common STDs in nursing homes include chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to imagine. I grew up with my grandparents, and I just like to imagine that they never had sex after Vietnam. That's like I don't want to think about that. You really think a lot of grandparents are having sex?
Oh, my grandpa died having sex.
What?
It's a good way to go out.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's your reaction, by the way? Jesus. First of all, I'm sorry to hear about your grandfather. Wait. Your grandfather died having sex?
Mm-hmm.
With who?
I can't say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it like a legal thing?
Mm,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, man. Bleep that if you got it. I'm really sorry to hear that, though. All right. This next question. How do you bring that up, by the way, and then you go, I
Moving
can't talk
on.
about it? Like, what? I wasn't going to talk about it. And then you brought it up. All right. This question says, man, some of these listeners
Is
can't
it
write.
posturing?
Can you, okay. Maybe English isn't their first language, in all fairness. How can you help your partner regain trust after moving too fast while trying poly? And before you answer this, because most people are not going to know what the hell they're talking about, how does someone move too fast when trying poly?
So, like, instead of like slowly educating themselves, reading books about poly, and taking it slow and finding their paramours or other partners, they just kind of get an ab,
Did you
jump
say
right
paramours?
in. Yeah,
What is that?
like other lovers.
Is that what
Like
the band?
like a secondary.
Hey, Muggs, look up what the band Paramore, like, where'd they get their name?
Oh no, it's not spelled the same.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
it's
what does Paramore
It's Mour.
mean? Huh.
Anyways, too fast probably means that they just like jump right in, started dating other people, and now it's like, oh, I don't trust you because we haven't really established boundaries.
Paramore is a play on the actual word, yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Secret lover.
Secret Lovers. You know that song, Atlantic Star?
no.
No.
Something for the OGs. All right, final question of Loveline, because I believe we do have to get out of here. How to get my wife? The way they write, it's like, dude, yeah, this is why she won't let you. How to get my wife to let me go down on her more? It's the dumbest running joke. How can this guy get his wife to let him go down on her more?
So I need to know more. Like first off, I need to know why she perhaps dislike him going down on her, because maybe it's not about him. Maybe there was a trauma that she needs to identify and heal from. Because like let's say if she was sexually assaulted a long time ago when she was younger through oral, like it could be so traumatizing, and she doesn't have the language or the ability to talk about it. So I can't like give an advice to be like, do this if she had that kind of trauma. But let's say she didn't have the trauma. She's just like, it's like a waste of time. It's mainly because you're not that good at it. Like, if you're really good at oral and she gets an orgasm every time, like, why wouldn't you want reward? Every single human, basic human psychology, they want reward. If something's being done to them and it's rewarding to them, they will want more. Like, that's why I have good sex, I want more sex. It's so simple. So if she's like, I don't want it, then it's probably like not that great, which then mean that you need to like get better by communicating like, hey, how about we do it next time? You give me some feedback.
It's kind of like what they talk about in the book Outliers, where people will do a swimming workout to get a swimmer's body, but what they don't realize is that most swimmers have that body first, and then they have success swimming, and then so they swim more, and then you have that connection of oh, that's a swimmer's. I just need to swim, but that's not really how it works. And it's kind of like what you're talking about, where like if you're good at something, you're going to do it more, and if you're bad at something, you're probably just not going to do it. There you go. Yeah, and if she's ever stopped you, that's the worst feeling, at least for me, like having to stop it when oral's happening and you just know it's like not great. And then you're like, how long am I giving this? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to like.
You mean you as a giver or receiver?
No, receiver.
Oh.
It's a terrible feeling.
You've received, I mean, like it's so hard for a woman.
What, is that shocking that I've received oral in my life?
No.
The hell?
It's a shock that you receive bad oral.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because a woman giving oral is so easy.
No, sometimes it's not great.
Really?
Sometimes
like
it's
a lot of teeth?
That's what they all say. That's like the cliche knock. But I mean, Muggs, if you want to hop in here, I believe you've experienced this.
Is he an oral connoisseur?
Well, no. I mean, I would hope it's happened to him a couple times. With no flatulence, by the way. But I'm saying, Muggs, we're all so fried right now. By the way, it's so late. But before we get out of here, wouldn't you say that it's more than just the teeth?
Yeah, there's sometimes it could be like a lack of effort.
You know what I don't like? When it's like really, like they go to from 0 to 100, or they start. I can't talk about a lot of this stuff on the radio.
No.
We should probably just say goodbye because it is damn near midnight and we have to get out of here. And and I'm gonna start saying things on the radio that I'm not supposed to say. Dr. Tara, where can people find you on social?
Yes, find me at lovebites.co. That's LUVBITES.co.
And it is Kevan Kenney at Kevan Kenney, beer mug, who for some reason doesn't want to give out his handle. And if you want to follow the show, it is at
the Beer Muggos.
Yes. I love Loveline.
At I Love Loveline is the name of the show. Muggs is hilarious. You can follow the video show, by the way, youtube.com/KROQ. We will see you next week on a brand new Loveline.
Yay.
I'm a dominatrix.
This has been Loveline. The opinions expressed on Loveline are not necessarily those of staff, management, sponsors, or the station.
Loveline is produced and engineered by Jonathan Beermug Cantrell. Loveline is a presentation of the world-famous KROQ.